Hey, welcome to Saved and Besieged by Flippin' Tables. This is a place where faith meets the fight, and your permission to be brutally honest about your pain without letting go of Jesus. This is a space for the burned, the bruised, and the barely hanging on. No sugarcoating, no shallow faith, just raw hope, real theology, and a God who refuses to walk out when life gets ugly. Saved and Besieged by Flippin' Tables, for the wrecked, the raw, and the rising. Hey, this is Cece.
And I'm JR.
Together we're JRCC. Our mission is simple, to bring you one podcast at a time about faith.
Not the polished, sugar-coated version, but real faith.
The kind that wrestles doubts, cries out, and still finds Jesus in the mess.
That's what Saved and Besieged is all about.
Welcome to Saved and Besieged by JRCC. We've been talking about not this BS religious stuff again. And by BS, I mean before spirit stuff. No, not the swear word. And today we're going to continue talking about how the Bible is supposed to be a mirror, not a weapon. The Bible isn't a baton. It's not a brick for throwing across the room when I'm losing an argument. It was never meant to choreograph your life so I can feel clean and tidy about mine. The Bible was given so God could deal with me, my temper, my pride, my fear, my hunger and desire for getting the last word in always. It's a mirror first. I hold it up, and if I'm brave, I see the things that I'd rather crop out so that you don't see them. The sharpness in my voice, the way I rush past people who can't move at my speed, the quiet jealousy and envy that I sometimes dress up as concern. The Bible's also a lamp, not a floodlight, but just enough glow for the next step. One step is usually what I get, and most days that's all I can carry. But when I start waving scripture at you like a warning sign, I step out of the light and into the judge's chair. I don't belong there. We're not built for it. It makes me hard and hollow. I've done it though. I've copy-pasted a verse into a text because I didn't want to sit in someone's pain or even try to understand it. I've said truth in love when what I actually meant was it's my opinion now and you listen to it. I've watched friends cry and answered with a quote because empathy felt too slow and took too much of my time. And it worked. And if by worked I mean the room went quiet and the friendship cooled, then yeah, of course it worked. But here's a better way. Let the book look at me first. Before I fire a verse at your habit, let it ask about mine. Before I point at your weekend, let it point at my week. Before I pick apart your choices, let it pick apart at mine. It's strange how much lighter the Bible feels when it's in my hands, just for me. The weight is still there, but it lands where it should. I've seen the other way up close too. A church meeting that turned into a sparring match over a single line in a song. People quoting, counter-quoting, voice after voice trying to prove who God loves most by being least moved by a hurting person. So someone could come and ask you for prayer about the bruise no one could see. We ended up missing her while we hunted for the right sentence and the winning one. We won the point, but we lost the person. And that's what happens when the Bible becomes a weapon. The loudest fighter thinks they've defended the faith, and someone who needs a hand goes home alone. We somehow think the Bible means we have to defend God, and we're His defenders. Let's think about this other story. A brother and sister fall out over their mum's will. They both have verses. He shows the one that speaks about fairness. She shows the one about not being greedy. They send each other the links. They don't speak for years. Meanwhile, the book they use, like a hammer, is full of lines about forgiveness, about going first, about laying down the need to be right. But those lines are hard to read when you're pointing the page at someone else's face. A mirror is rude in the best way. It doesn't flatter. It shows. The Bible has done that to me more than once. I read a story about Jesus stopping for the one on the edge and felt the heat of shame because I'd breezed past a homeless man that morning, eyes forward, pretending to search my pockets. I read the bit about blessing those who curse you, and I knew exactly whose names I needed to bless and exactly how much I didn't want to. I read the line about not announcing our good deeds and thought of the post I crafted to look humble and sound impressive at the same time. The mirror, the Bible, had done its job. It told the truth. The lamp part is gentler. It doesn't yell, fix everything. It asks for the next faithful step. Text the apology. Carry a meal down the street. Put your phone away for 10 minutes and listen to your child. Say out loud, I'm jealous. I'm envious of someone. And let that sting teach you something. The Bible, if it's a lamp, It makes me move, not to the stage, but to the kitchen sink, to the neighbor's door, to the back row. Reading this is slower. It's the opposite of fishing for ammo. It sounds like this. What does the Bible show me about me? Where have I been harsh? Who do I need to forgive? Like really forgive, not just file away. What one thing can I do in the next 24 hours that looks like Jesus? If I can't find a step that costs me something, I've probably treated the verse that I read that morning like a spotlight for you instead of a light to my own feet. I remember a small group night where everyone came ready with thoughts. One man new to faith sat quiet. When it finally landed with him, he didn't quote or posture or anything. He said, "I think I need to ring my dad." The room shifted. No one clapped. Someone passed him the phone charger. Someone else offered to sit with him while he made the call. That's what happens when the Bible's a mirror and a lamp. It's less about the clever take and more about the brave step. There's a harshness that creeps in when we treat scripture like a scoreboard. We start marking each other's papers. Did you tick the right boxes? Did you say the line the way our tribe says it? The book shrinks to our favorite bits, and the people in front of us shrink to types that we think we understand. The divorced one, the queer one, the charismatic one, the cold one, the too loud one. Jesus kept walking past those labels to reach actual people. The ones that I might have declared far gone became his the ones far gone became his dinner guests, his friends, his first messengers. If he keeps crossing lines, maybe I shouldn't draw lines so quickly. Now, this doesn't mean that truth goes soft. It means truth puts on work boots. If the verse I love doesn't make me kinder to a cashier after a long queue, I haven't loved right. If my doctrine doesn't help me keep my mouth shut when a friend needs silence more than answers, then I haven't learned it. If my favorite passages about holiness only ever applies to someone else's bodies or Instagram posts and never my own pettiness, then I've dodged the mirror. So try this. Take one short bit, 10 lines, maybe not a chapter, whatever it is, and sit with it like you would a person you care about. Read it once, twice, out loud. If a word bothers you, stay there. If a line warms you, stay there. Ask the two simplest questions in the world. God, what are you showing me about you? And then, God, what are you showing me about me? Think about one sentence you can live by before the sun goes down. And then go do that sentence. Don't post it, don't announce it. Let the lamp do its quiet work. And when the urge comes to throw a verse like a dart, pause. Ask, where is this verse landing on me? If it stings, good, because that's how medicine works. If it doesn't sting, maybe you're holding the bottle with the lid on. I have learned, slowly and sometimes badly, that the Bible is the most powerful when it puts me to my knees, not on a pedestal. If it makes me apologize first. If it makes me feed people that I'd rather avoid. If it makes me accept them. If it makes me see my enemy as a neighbor with a story. It sends me to wash up, to stay when staying costs, to leave when leaving is good and doesn't cause friction. It makes me a little more like Jesus in rooms where no one's filming. And if all you can manage today is opening up to maybe the Psalms and saying that line is me, then close the book and go make that one change that demands holiness. And that's how hearts turn without needing anyone to clap. Which brings us to the question we dodge because it strips us of our favorite role. Who am I to draw the lines that Jesus always keeps crossing? So stay tuned for the next part. Who am I? Hey, welcome to Saved and Besieged by JRCC. We're looking at part 2 of Not This BS Religious Stuff Again. And by BS, I mean before spirit stuff. We're looking at who am I? So who am I to decide where God draws the line? Who am I to say whom he can speak to and who he should skip? Who am I to police what you drink, what you smoke, what you wear, or what you can't stop thinking about? Just because my own mess happens to be tidier in public. I've watched God sit on a curb with a man who smelled like last night's decisions and call him son. No lecture, just dignity returned to a face that had forgotten how to lift it. I've watched God fold a single mum into a hug that the church forgot to give, whispering worth into the places that shame had been squatting for years. I've watched God turn a chronic liar into a truth teller, not by humiliating him in front of a room, but by handing him one small job and one small chance and standing nearby while he learned to tell the truth without shaking. But I've also watched the other thing. I've seen the raised eyebrow at the door just because someone's skirt was too short for the usher, but not too short for Jesus. I've heard the cough at the back of the room when the boy with the shaky hands took too long to find the particular verse or the hymn. I felt the cold that enters a room when a divorced woman starts to serve and people decide silently that she should sit down again. I've sat through meetings where we've used the word standards to hide the word fear. God has been breaking my neat categories. I've watched tattooed men pray for people, and I've seen the Spirit move. I've seen people out of prison sentences, working at the food bank. And it's funny in a painful way how we as Christians can rank sins by how visible they are. It's also funny, even more painful, that we've decided what the rank of sins are just because we don't struggle with the same thing that someone else does. So if you can smell it, we call it serious. If you can hide it in a calendar or a bank statement, we call it wisdom. I've judged someone else's cigarette smoking while nursing my own bitterness. I've sighed at someone's language while tearing a friend to pieces with polite gossip. I've rolled my eyes at someone's messy dating life while robbing my children of my presence with another supposed important email. Holiness is not a costume. If my holiness makes me hard to deal with or to sit with, or for others in pain to sit with me, it's not holy. It's the BS before spirit swagger dressed in Sunday clothes. So no, I won't pretend holiness doesn't matter. Purity matters, obedience matters, repentance matters. But the doorway into all of that is humility, not hierarchy, hospitality, not haughtiness. Holiness is what happens when love stays in the room long enough to tell the truth without needing to be cruel. Holiness looks like a spare chair at the table and soup on the hob and a calendar that makes space for the slow work of God in real people. Holiness looks like confessing what I am doing wrong. Holiness looks like making amends and actually meaning it. So who am I to decide that God can't use you as you are? Peter denied Jesus and still ended up preaching with fire. The Samaritan woman had a past and became the first evangelist in her village. He doesn't queue up for my permission to decide who he needs to use. Let me tell you where I've seen church feel like Jesus. The smoking area. People who don't know what to do with their nerves blow out stories with the smoke. No one quotes. Everyone's listening. Someone laughs at the right bit and winces at the right bit and asks, do you want prayer or a biscuit? And somehow means both. Church is in the back pew. A woman crying, a stranger slides over, doesn't ask why, just hands a tissue and stays quiet. The cheap seats at a weekday recovery meeting in a hall that smells like dust and horrible tea. Coins for the bus fare, passed hand to hand. Church is when arms that are folded at first are open later. No stage, because God is everywhere. I think of the boy who swore he'd never come back to church because he felt like he was stared at. He came anyway, sat on the aisle, 1 foot already out of the door. And an old man didn't ask him his name, didn't ask his story, just nudged Mentos into his palm like a secret and said, I've saved these for the hard parts. And that was the sermon that got through, not the one that was preached. Let's talk about the woman who stood at the edge of the room on Mother's Day with a smile too bright for her eyes. She'd lost a child years ago. That service made her whole body ache. A friend saw her bolt for the door and followed her to the car park. No words, just stayed with her until the shaking stopped. Later she said, I thought God had left. But there my friend stood and I thought maybe he hasn't. This is why I keep asking, who am I? Not to collapse into mush, but to remember my place. I am not the gate. I was a guest who was welcomed when I was sweaty and late and in tears and tatters, and I was loved anyway. I'm not the bouncer. I'm the one who should be holding the door open with both hands because of how often it has been held open for me. If you need it said plain, yes, God cares about what we do with our bodies, our money, our words, our beds. He cares because he cares about us, not to judge us. But the order matters. Love leads, change follows. We turn that around and wonder why people feel tricked. If someone cannot feel your care, they will not hear your correction. If your truth doesn't taste like kindness, it's not truth yet. It's just noise with Bible verses on it. So when I ask, who am I want that question to loosen my jaw and open my hands and my heart, to make me slow to label, but quick to listen, to make me the sort of person a scared teenager could text at midnight without fear of a lecture, to make me the sort of neighbor who brings bins in and checks on the man with the twitch and knows the barista's name, to make me useful to God in rooms when no one is watching. So if the cure for before spirit religion is the spirit of Jesus, which is love in action, then it's time to move from arguing to actual care. No stage, no spotlight. Let's talk about what this looks like. You're listening to Saved and Besieged by JRCC. We don't do sugar-coated faith here, just the raw stuff that keeps you breathing when life crushes you. We're moving to the next part of BS religion, before spirit stuff. So picture this instead of a debate. Your phone buzzes at 11:47 p.m. A name you love. 3 words. I'm not okay. You don't send a verse and roll over. You pull on a hoodie, grab a hot drink, and drive through the quiet streets that always feel longer at night. You don't arrive with a speech. You arrive with your whole self. You sit with your friend and you breathe slow, and they copy you breath for breath, like you're teaching a child to swim. You stay until their shoulders drop a fraction, and the night feels survivable. Picture this as well. A friend says the bottle's winning, and you don't give long advice, pages of it. No memoir in the messages. You sit on the kitchen floor with him, because the floor doesn't pretend. You watch the clock together while the craving peaks and falls. You tell him you're proud of his 30 minutes. And in the morning, you ring the counselor. And then, because shame hates sunlight, you put the appointment in your own calendar, so you won't forget. A teenager whispers, "Does God even notice me?" You don't forward them an article. You notice them. You learn their playlist. You remember their test dates. You keep turning up every week until they stop asking, because now they know. Church foyer version. You see the man who always leaves during the last song. You stand by the door next time and walk out with him. You just walk with him and talk about the weather until he mentions his eviction notice. As a side note, you know it's not. You offer a lift to the Citizens Advice Bureau on Monday. You set 3 alarms so you don't bail. You sit with him while he tries to find his voice again. Love doesn't ignore truth. It is truth with thick skin on. It remembers the boy in Mark 9 and refuses to let him convulsing while we shout across him. It prays and acts. It listens and lifts. It doesn't need the last word. It wants the lost one. It might still ask hard things. Are you safe? Do we need to call someone? But it asks that with a hand on the shoulder, not with a wagging finger in your face. Doing doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's boring, and boring can actually be holy. It's collecting a prescription for a neighbor who won't ask. It's sending a text that says, "Hey, I made some extra dinner. Do you want some?" And leaving stew on the doorstep. You put aside a little cash every month, so when the crisis knocks, you don't have to tweet about generosity. You can just be generous. There are days when doing is just not leaving. You sit with someone who hasn't cried for days since the funeral because they're afraid they won't stop if they start. So you sit, you let them break. You don't try to fix their face. You just pass the water and tissues. You put the bins out before you go because grief can make even simple things feel like maths. And then there are days when doing is the big brave no. No, I can't lend you money, but I can sit with you while we call the debt helpline. No, you can't stay if you're still using. But yes, I will drive you to the meeting and I will be here when you walk out. No, I won't gossip with you, even the Christian kind with prayer hands. But I will pray with you for the person who hurt you. And if you want help you write a message that doesn't pour fuel on the fire. You will mess this up, and I speak from experience. You will either say too much or too little. You will miss the hint and arrive late with the soup. You will feel foolish for standing at the wrong door. You will cry in the car and wonder if any of it counts. Trust me, it does. God is not marking you up on flair. He's teaching you his slow, steady way. Knees for prayer, hands for carrying, feet for showing up, a voice for boundaries, quiet that makes space for someone else's words. And yes, like I said before, truth matters. If all you ever bring is comfort with no courage, it will leave a person stuck where you found them. But if all you ever bring is challenge with no care, then they won't trust you enough to hear it. The order matters. Earn the right to speak by staying long enough to love. Then speak as one who will be here tomorrow if your words land heavy. Start small, keep it human. If you don't know what to do, just take the next kind step and make it practical. Ask, do you want company? Do you want a plan? And take them at their word. Ask, do you want company? Do you want a plan? And then take them at their word. If they say, just sit, sit. If they say, help, then help. Then when you go home, tell God the truth about how it felt. Ask for more courage next time. Ask for a thicker skin and a softer heart, both at once. Because love is not flashy, it is stubborn. It's the text, the call, the casserole, the lift, the chair, the apology, the boundary, the whisper. That's the sound of truth standing in the room. Welcome back to Saved and Besieged with JRCC. Now, God has given us just 2 commands, but only one job. Love God with everything. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's the whole assignment. Not the warm-up, not the optional extras. That's the center. We complicate it because complicated keeps us important. Simple keeps us accountable. Simple means I can't hide behind clever words. And it puts the weight back in my hands. So what do? I use it like a yardstick. When I read the Bible, I ask, does this make me love him more and people more? If it just makes me louder, I've read it wrong. When I speak, I ask, will this help a hurting human stop convulsing, inside and out? When I disagree, I ask, can I do it without discarding you? If the only way I can be right is to make you less of a person, then I'm not right. I'm back in the BS loop, screaming over the boy on the floor. What does loving God with everything look like when you're late for work and the bus sails past? It looks like telling him the truth in that moment, not the cleaned up version later. I'm furious, God. I feel small. I need help to not take this out on the next person I see. It looks like turning the waiting into a 2-minute prayer instead of a 20-minute spiral. It looks like thanking him for breath you didn't notice. Loving God is not just songs on a Sunday. It's attention on a Tuesday as well. Try it online. Before you post, ask, does this help someone see God more clearly? Or does it make them feel judged? Or does it make me seem more loud? Would I still say this if the person I'm writing about was in front of me? If not, that's not love, it's performance. You don't have to weigh in on everything. You're allowed to leave a gap where mercy can live. Loving your neighbor as yourself means you also love yourself as a neighbor that God cares about. It looks like sleep when you're scrolling. It looks like therapy when pain goes around in circles. And it also looks like saying sorry to your child and then changing how you speak to them. And when you fail, you will. Don't hide. Go back to the 2 lines. Love God by telling him the truth. Tell him I blew it. Love your neighbor by making it right. Saying I'm sorry. How can I repair this? Love is not a mood. It's a motion in the direction of the other. Do that enough days in a row and people will start to trust your words because they've seen your life. I keep thinking about the boy in Mark 9. The crowd is loud, the experts are sure, the disciples are defensive, but the father is desperate and the boy is still shaking. In that mess, Jesus brings 2 things, the presence of God and the care of a neighbor. He listens like God. He lives like a friend. That's our template. Love God with everything you've got and love the person in front of you like you'd want to be loved if it was you on the floor. You don't have to feel ready. You don't have to be clever. You just have to be willing to be found in the place where love lives. The rest will come. Or it won't straight away. And even if it doesn't, you'll have the faith in the one who asked for your heart and your hands, not your perfect vocabulary. Which brings us to where this was always heading. Not to an argument that was won, but to a person that you can actually meet. Let's walk towards him together. Welcome back to Saved and Besieged with JRCC. Our God is not spooked by relapse, by doubt, or by the ugly cry you let out only when you're alone. He's not startled when you say, I'm angry with you, God. He doesn't fold his arms and step back. He says, tell me, and he means it. He doesn't tidy your feelings into something presentable. He lets them be as big as they need to be. And then he starts to move the furniture of your heart so there's room for hope again. He's the God who stays when the argument fades. He does his best work away from microphones, on roads at dusk with 2 tired walkers, at kitchen tables when the bread's not fancy, in gardens before dawn with women who won't be believed, in upstairs rooms where fear has locked the door and shame has pulled the curtains. And guess what? All of those stories are in the Bible. He sets table for people and complicated stories and calls them sons and daughters. You might think you missed your chance, but you haven't. He has the habit of finding people who've used up their last plan. He makes a way that looks like himself, kind, steady, patient, and invites you to walk it at human speed.